Hey, it's Will Duffield here. In this video, I want to talk about how I decide which properties I'm going to go out and view. So if I'm looking for another flip project, which I'm doing right now, I'm out there viewing a bunch of properties. How do I decide if I'm going to see that property? So I've seen it on Rightmove, I've looked at it. How do I know if it's worth viewing? Now, this is a really difficult question because there's a whole bunch of different variables. But in short, what I do is I speak to the estate agent first and foremost. I have a quick look at sold prices while I'm speaking to that estate agent. I'm getting an idea of, is this property likely to sell before I even see it or very quickly after I see it? You can't always know this, but a simple question you can ask an agent is, has the property had any offers on it yet? And if the answer is yes, doesn't necessarily rule it out, and the agent isn't allowed to tell you, unless it's an auction property, in some cases they can, but in most cases the agent's not allowed to tell you what the offers are. So they're not allowed to tell you the amount, but they will often tell you if they've had offers. What you're listening for is their reaction. So have a chat to them about that, and if they say to you, yeah, they've had loads of offers, we've had 15 viewings, we've got multiple offers on the table, and it's going to best and final offers on Monday, then the reality is it's probably, unless it's stupidly well priced, it's probably going to be off the market, and it's probably not going to be for you as an investor in most cases. I say most cases. So that can be a little thing, a little way of ruling out some properties. If there's massive competition, it's going really quickly, unless it's priced really cheap, it might not be worth your time in that case. But if there's no offers on the table, or if there's some, but the agent's kind of indicated that the property's still actually not going to be sold anytime soon, maybe it's not an acceptable level for the vendor, you can think, right, okay, from the photos of the property, does it need work? If it needs work, so it needs an update, a cosmetic refurbishment at the very least, then it might be worth seeing. Now, personally, my general rule is if it's going to work as a property flip, then it's going to need some work. So quite simply, you're not usually going to be able to buy immaculate properties that are refurbished for great prices. Now, that does happen in some cases. There are some exceptions to this rule, but in most cases, you're buying properties where there's a problem that you need to solve. And that problem is often at least partly due to the condition of the property. So it needs work. And for whatever reason, first-time buyers have been put off because it's too much work. And that's where you're more likely to get it at a good price. So my general quick rule is it's got to need to have some work or need work done to it for it to work as a project. Now, don't get me wrong. Just because a property needs work doesn't mean it makes sense to buy it anywhere near the advertised price. Okay, so asking price is one of the biggest misleading things when it comes to finding a property project. It means nothing. It could be determined by an overly optimistic vendor who's selling the house. It could be determined by an estate agent who's overly optimistic, combination of the two. It's irrelevant for you. What you need to determine is what the resale value is, what the cost is going to be. So not just the refurbishment cost, but the true buying and selling cost, all the fees involved, the profit you need to make, and ultimately, therefore, what is your maximum offer? That's what you need to calculate. So asking price is really irrelevant. It's just something that's there, and that, you know, it could give you an indication of what it's going to sell for. But you know what? Sometimes I've had properties way below asking price, significantly below. So don't be too hung up on the asking price. But what you need to know is what it's realistically worth, and then you work backwards. And if you do that, you're more likely to be able to get a property at the right price. So you know your value in advance. So we've got to the point where we've had a conversation with an agent. They've said, yes, there's offers on the table, or at least give you an indication it's probably not going to sell really quickly, in which case it might be worth a look. If it needs some work, you can go and view it. Now, in most cases, you'll probably find the property that you view, even if it needs work, even if it's not about to be sold massively quickly to somebody else, is still not going to work for you. This is a property is about being a numbers game, right? That's the reality. If you're looking to flip properties to make massive profits, 20% return investment or higher, which is what I recommend, you're going to have to look at a lot of properties, and most of them won't lead anywhere. But the important thing is that you don't convince yourself or talk yourself out of viewing any property by over analyzing. Because if you're not careful, an agent might say to you, oh yeah, I don't think this is going to be worth much as a flip project. I don't think there's enough margin in it. And in some cases they might be right, but in some cases they might be missing a trick. Or they might not necessarily know what the seller is just about to be prepared to accept, because things change over time if they've not got the price they want. So don't convince yourself, find any reason to convince yourself not to view a property, because you're ruling some things out without even trying. So you know it's a numbers game, which means you have to view a lot of properties in order to find the right deal. And it's also about timing. So what somebody might be prepared to accept in a month's time, 2 months' time, 3 months' time might be completely different to what they're prepared to accept today. So sometimes you have to be patient and you have to follow up on the offers that you've made, and those no's turn into yeses after a certain period of time has passed. That's another thing to bear in mind. So technically, you're not wasting time by viewing a property, even if it doesn't result in an actual deal. If you're only viewing a couple of properties a week, the reality is you'll probably get nowhere. So you need to view quite a few and get your offers out and see what happens. So at this point, viewing a property that needs work might lead nowhere, but you know what? What you're doing is you're out there networking with an estate agent, looking at a property that needs work, reminding them who you are. So in your local area, you're getting known as an investor for them to bring the next deal to. So you view the property, that's great. Give great feedback, because that's really important. Nothing more frustrating for agents than never hearing any feedback. Tell them what is good about the property, what's not good about the property, why you need to offer the certain amount you need to offer that's probably way below asking price. Justify why, because of course you're looking to make a profit as a person who is flipping properties. So you're going to offer below, and you need to do that nicely so you don't actually annoy them. And that's a delicate process in some cases. If you're just lobbing out offers and you don't actually have a good conversation with them, eventually they might grow tired of you. So justify why you're putting your low offers in. But what the important thing is, you're speaking to them about other opportunities that are coming to the market. So other properties that are coming to the market. So yes, that property you've offered on may not amount to anything, but they know you the next deal they come along. So you ask them, have you got anything else coming onto the market soon that might be of interest? Any other properties in this area that need refurbishment that are coming to the market? So they might think, okay, so you've just asked me about this property, and you've asked me about this property again, and you keep putting offers out on properties, you're seriously buying properties, you're in a position to move forward, you're not in a chain, you're maybe a cash buyer if you're a cash buyer, or you're using bridging finance so you can move quickly. All these great things that the agent might say, okay, so I've got a serious buyer here. The important thing is you don't think just because you're a cash buyer, just before you can move quickly or whatever, that they're going to throw all the deals to you. But what it does is when you're out there networking is you're reminding them who you are, and you are more likely to get deals in the future, but you have to be persistent. So in summary, no viewing is a wasted viewing, because you're building a relationship with an agent, you're putting an offer out that might turn into a yes in the future, you're getting experience looking at properties, understanding what refurbishment costs are involved. Every project you look at, you're building knowledge of that, so it's all useful. So how do I decide to view a property? Usually it needs a little bit of work and it's not about to be sold in the next few hours, then probably I'm out there looking at it and I'm building that relationship with an agent and I'm putting my offer out, because if you're not offering, you've got no opportunity to get that deal in the first place. So hopefully that's useful. If so, go ahead, like, subscribe, and you will see me again in the next video very soon.